Your history books worship Zeus, right? But they never mention the king he murdered first. You see, before the Gilded Age of Olympus ever dawned, and before the Titans drew their first breath of creation, there existed a sovereign of the absolute silence. I am speaking to you, honestly, of the firstborn. This was a deity forged from the raw, hungry void that predates the very concept of light itself. Solemnly, while your teachers spoke of the grandeur of thunder and the brilliance of lightning, they carefully omitted the name of the entity that first taught the gods the true meaning of fear. Intense. I have reached into the shadows of antiquity to find what was lost, peeling back the layers of a celestial cover-up that has lasted for millennia. Grandly, you have been told a story of triumph, but I am here to tell you the story of the ultimate erasure. This, you see, is the truth of the king who was buried beneath the foundation of the world. Epic, welcome to the history the heavens tried to burn. Walk through the halls of any museum today and you will see them. The 12 Olympians. They stand in silent white marble, their faces fixed in expressions of divine serenity and unshakable authority. You see, we are taught that their reign was the dawn of reason, a golden age where the chaos of the old world was finally tamed by the lightning of Zeus and the wisdom of Athena. But this is the version of history the victors wrote. It is a masterpiece of propaganda, really, etched into every column of the Parthenon and sung into every verse of the ancient epics. But I want you to look closer at those statues. I want you to see the hairline fractures in the marble, the shadows that linger in the hollows of their eyes. You see, deep beneath the golden halls of Olympus, beneath the foundations of the very mountain itself, lies a memory the younger gods spent an eternity trying to burn. Now, you have been told that chaos was a formless mist, a mere prelude to the coming of light. But the truth, it is far more suffocating. Before the stars were scattered across the firmament, there was the firstborn. He was not a god of the earth or the sky, for those things had not yet been allowed to exist. He was the Void King, the living manifestation of the before, whispering. Imagine a silence so absolute it possessed a heartbeat. I want you to picture a being who did not just inhabit the darkness, but was the very force that kept the light from ever being born. Grimly. He was the ultimate predator of potential, holding the unformed stars in his fist, crushing every spark before it could become a sun. Melancholic. Under his reign, the universe was a stagnant pool of nothingness, unable to expand, unable to breathe, and unable to dream. But as the young gods began to store within this totalizing shadow, actually, a cold realization took root in their hearts. Sorrowfully. They understood that they were merely flickers of light in a world that demanded eternal night. They could never grow, never build, and never rule, so long as their progenitor held the universe in his suffocating grip. It was here, in the heavy silence of the first age, that the first seeds of hubris were sown. The children realized that if they ever wanted to see a tomorrow, they would have to commit the ultimate sin. They would have to murder the father of all things. Yet, killing a being who exists outside of life and death is not as simple as a blade to the throat, right? To strike at the Void King, the young gods had to devise a weapon that did not yet exist, a betrayal that would echo through every layer of reality. And as you are about to see, the price they paid for their freedom was far heavier than any of them could have imagined. Solemnly, the night it happened. Time itself seemed to hold its breath, you know. I want you to picture the young gods standing over the progenitor of existence, their hands trembling. Not with mercy, no, but with the sheer weight of what they were about to do. They fell upon the firstborn like wolves upon a shepherd. Actually, this was no honorable duel, and there was certainly no glory to be found in the silence of the void. It was a visceral, jagged tearing of the fabric of reality. They did not just kill him, they unmade him. I can tell you that the scream he unleashed was so profound, so haunting, that it shattered the singular darkness into a billion shards of light. His essence was not spilled like blood, but scattered like dust across the infinite reaches of the cosmos. Coldly, Zeus and his kin were meticulous in their cruelty, ensuring that no two pieces would ever drift close enough to recognize each other again. Knowing this is the truth the ancient texts tried to bury. You see, awestruck. Every star you see when you look up at the night sky, it's not a beacon of hope or some distant sun. Soulfully, it is a jagged fragment of a broken god. The place itself designed to hold a piece of the breaking and eternal ice which quietly we call the heavenly being before because we have forgotten their original purpose. Right? You're looking at a green little light.
And somewhere, in the deepest reaches of the dark, the fragments have begun to pulse. You see, the tragedy of the firstborn is not merely a tale from a forgotten age. It is a current and encroaching condition. You can burn the ancient scrolls and execute the last of the priests, but the shadows gathering in the corners of your room prove that the forgotten never truly stay gone. As we reach the end of this journey, I want you to realize, actually realize, that every time the sun sets, you are not just watching the day end. You are stepping back into his kingdom. The gods of Olympus have faded into the dust of history, but the void remains, eternal and hungry. It is merely waiting, you know, for the last of the stars to burn out, so that the shattered pieces can finally return home to the dark. Tell me, do you truly feel safe when the lights go out? Or do you feel him watching you from the silence? Subscribe if you dare, to remember the gods history tried to delete.